We want to bring in 24th Chief of the U.S. Border Patrol, Rodney Scott, who served under both President Biden and President Trump. Thank you so much, Chief Scott. I know we've spoken many times, and we're grateful to have you here. You have 30 years of experience. You've served under both administrations that were Democrat and Republican. What do we need to do now? What is the holdup that Congress has not yet received the message for, that Mayorkas has not yet received the message for, that is a do or die for the United States, considering the ongoing crisis?
So the administration specifically just has a completely different world view than any administration we've ever had before. And they really don't see these open borders as anything other than a bad optic. As far as policy goes, they don't have a problem with what's going on the border. That is the crisis. And they're willing to actually shut down the government to keep the border open. And that's what people need to understand. Really, this entire crisis can be shut down overnight if we end catch and release. What that means is when each one of these people you're seeing on the screen is processed by CBP, normally they're being released into the country now to wait for years for an immigration hearing. Every one of them calls home. They talk to their friends and family, and that creates the next wave. And that has just been the domino effect we're dealing with now. Simple policies put back in place that mandate detention until their court case has been adjudicated, or they remain outside the country until their court case is adjudicated, will end the massive flow and get us back to a level that Border Patrol can manage.
I remember when I first started reporting on this story here for NewsNation, and there was this narrative that those who came into the country had host families. They already had connections. They already had friends or loved ones who they were coming to meet where they could live. But we've seen time and time again, including right here in Chicago, people sleeping in police stations, sleeping at the airports. They have no connections. They're here desperately, but they're here legally because of the current administration's laws. Most of these people don't have any real ties here. And again, like you said, they have to wait years. Should deportations happen moving forward in order to get a control on this thing?
Deportations absolutely must happen. To be able to have laws in place, you have to enforce those laws. To have any meaningful civil society, you have to have law and order. And we're seeing the exact opposite of that currently. Deportations, internal deportations will have to take place. We had 3.2 million illegal aliens encountered by CBP last year that will disappear into society. They're not ever going to leave on their own. You have to shut down the border, make sure that we know who and what is entering the country. But there has to be a real threat that if you get caught in the country and you came in illegally, that you're going to be kicked out. And it's just like, think about it from another perspective. People get overly emotional about this. If somebody snuck into a concert and they got caught by security because they violated the rules, they would be kicked out. And it's a little bit similar in this context, although the stakes are much, much higher.
And many people, to your point, feel that deportations are incompassionate, and they think of the mothers and children. Oftentimes that is the focus, even though there are the majority of people crossing, it seems to be single men being arrested and then released into the country. However, there are a lot of people with very young children. We've seen them on the streets begging for food, begging for money in the biggest cities and in the smallest towns in the United States. Is there another alternative?
Enforcing the law is the alternative. You know, the term compassion has been hijacked by these open border individuals. There's nothing compassionate about creating this draw into the country based on lies that feeds the cartels, that results in human trafficking going through the roof, which results in murders and rapes throughout the entire smuggling process. And then the victimization of the individuals once they come to the United States, whether it be through forced labor or whether it just be through the political fiascos that we're seeing today. Look at New York, look at Chicago, look at these cities that are the mayors are crying out that it's overwhelming them. There's nothing compassionate about any of that. The most compassionate thing to do is convince people that violating the law to get into the United States is not a good choice. If they want to come to the United States, go through the legal process. And we could manage that process, by the way, if we would shut down this illegal part of it that is completely overwhelming the system.
Yeah, it's just there's not enough staff. We know that 160,000 people since 2022 have arrived in New York City alone. Will Speaker Johnson's trip to Eagle Pass today make a difference? We've seen these delegations before. Obviously, this is a new leader for the House, but do you think it's going to actually help in terms of negotiating a plan moving forward?
I think it will help solidify the understanding on the Republican side of what's really going on the border and how important border security is to our national security. I'm a little bit skeptical that it's going to solve any problems across the aisle because, again, it's 100% Republican delegation down on the border.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.